My husband Jason brought his secretary Natalie to the class reunion. While they chatted and laughed, Natalie pulled out old photos of me and Jason, along with the love letters and keepsakes from our past. She tore them up piece by piece while mocking me. No wonder Auntie always has that sour face. Turns out her smile is so ugly. Auntie's always the one peeling shrimp for Uncle, how pathetic. Uncle never lets me lift a finger. These rings must have been bought at some street stall. Auntie's taste is awful. Even a recycling center wouldn't take them now. With a flick of her finger, the ring brushed past my face and dropped straight into the glass of juice in front of me. The air froze. My classmates, whether intentionally or not, turned their eyes toward me. I grabbed a glass of wine and smashed it into Jason's face. "Did you fall asleep? You can't even keep your dog on a leash." Red liquid slid down Jason's sharp nose, dripping onto his white shirt and blooming into a sticky red stain. Natalie screamed, pressing her hands over his wound and shrieking while trying to protect him. She rushed at me in fury. "You old woman! What right do you have to hit Jason? You're going too far." I sidestepped lightly. "You say that like it's the first time you've seen me hit him. If you didn't act cheap, why would he get hit?" Jason wiped at his wound, then gently calmed down the frantic Natalie before frowning at me. "Emily, you dragged people into Natalie's cafe to make trouble. Now, whenever I go out, people whisper and point at me. I haven't been able to sleep for days, and today I didn't even hurt you. I just vented a little by tossing things you didn't want. Did you really need to make it such a big scene?" The way he spoke, as if everything were perfectly reasonable, only stoked my fury. That's what he asked for. I slapped him hard across the face. "And you too." The wound Jason had just pressed reopened, bleeding even worse. Natalie screamed, rushing to him again. A few classmates finally snapped out of their daze and hurried to pull us apart. Jason's voice was sharp with anger. "Unbelievable. Emily, do you think acting like this will earn you sympathy? Everyone here will just think you're an uncultured shrew, making a disgrace of yourself." I let out a cold laugh. "You've got it backward. One of you cheats in a marriage, the other knowingly plays the mistress, and you parade around flaunting it. Tell me, who's the real disgrace? Or maybe one of you here thinks I'm the one embarrassing myself." My eyes swept across the classmates watching. A few who had been staring with vulture-like anticipation quickly avoided my gaze. Jason left early with Natalie. Afterward, a few close classmates tried to persuade me. "Emily, life is unpredictable. Back then, Jason chased after you so fiercely, just like in a drama. We were all so envious. You two even survived the hardest breakup season after graduation, and you stayed so in love. How did it come to this? Honestly, you did love each other once. Making such a scene only hurts both sides. Why do this? Let him go, and you can move on to a new life." I smiled faintly but didn't respond. Let him go? Impossible. I had sworn long ago that even if it killed me, I would never let him and that mistress live happily ever after. Jason's affair had shown signs long ago. One day, on a whim, I cooked his favorite seafood porridge and brought it to his office as a surprise. In the hallway, a girl dropped a pile of documents. I bent down to pick up a few pages and noticed someone not far away also helping her, even sorting the pages neatly. When I looked up, I saw that it was Jason. The Jason I remembered had always been impatient with trivial chores. Every time I asked him to help organize household bills, his brows would knot in irritation. I had even teased him before, saying he could manage billion-dollar projects. Jason could never handle a few slips of paper, yet he could oversee massive company projects. From then on, sorting out every household receipt and company document became my responsibility. My chest tightened, and suddenly I didn't feel like cutting anymore. I looked at that girl. Her features were ordinary, with a slightly large nose, but her pale skin and pitiful demeanor gave her a delicate look. Their heads were close together, whispering about something. Jason's face carried a gentle smile I hadn't seen in a long time. My chest felt stifled, and I turned away. Behind me, I overheard a few employees from the partner company whispering, "Another sucker's taken the bait." Isn't that the truth? She's useless at everything except hooking a rich guy. She's got charm, I'll give her that, and this time she's reeled in a premium man. What a catch. Anger flared inside me. At that moment, Jason noticed me and hurried over. Honey, what are you doing here? I shook the thermos I was carrying. Well, I didn't know our president Jason was so eager to lend a helping hand. Jason scratched his head and chuckled. That girl's name is Natalie, she's from our hometown, and even went to our high school, just a few years below us. Since we're from the same place, I thought I'd give her a hand. My voice turned cold. You've just met her and already know so much? He answered casually. We just chatted a bit, funny coincidence, that's all. The nameless fire inside me burned hotter. From now on, you can handle your own receipts. He looked lost. Honey, what's wrong? Just because I helped a classmate pick something up? I stopped in my tracks. At the office, you're always the aloof one. Since when do you have time to chat about small talk and pick up papers? You suddenly have this much free time? Jason hesitated, then said, She's different. She's a junior from our high school and from our hometown. It just feels familiar. Though I was uncomfortable, his calm and straightforward manner left me with nothing more to say. Not long after that, at a report meeting with our partners, a crucial document went missing. Natalie's supervisor lost his temper on the spot. Natalie, you were the last person who handled this file. Where did it go? How many times is this now just this month? Tears welled in Natalie's eyes. She couldn't get a single word out. Then Jason spoke. Manager Lee, maybe the mistake was on our end. Emily also handled those documents at the time. I turned to him in disbelief. His eyes carried a pleading look, begging me to let it go. He continued, Natalie is still new. Her future is important. We can't be so hasty. A chill swept through me. I stood up immediately. I didn't do this. The office has cameras. It's easy to check whose fault it is. With that, I turned and walked out of the meeting room. Jason caught up with me in the stairwell, grabbing my arm. Emily, why did you have to say that much? We're supposed to start trying for a baby next month. You were already planning to resign. Even if you took the blame, at most it would just mean leaving a bit earlier. But Natalie's different. If it's her, she could lose her job completely. I slowly turned my head and looked seriously at this man who was both familiar and suddenly a stranger. Do you even realize that a mistake like this gets written into someone's record? But he didn't seem to hear me. He muttered, What else could I do? After a moment, he looked up. You've ruined her. Jason and I had been married for 5 years. We hadn't had kids before because we were both so busy. Now we had agreed that I would quit work for a while so I could focus on preparing for a baby. But his attitude chilled me to the bone. I decided to end work earlier than planned. I wanted to get out, clear my head, and give us both some space to calm down. But just before I was about to leave, I got a call from the hospital. Jason had been in a car accident. I turned back from the airport immediately, ran several red lights, and sped to the hospital like a madwoman. On the hospital bed, Jason's face was covered in scratches, and his left leg was in a cast, hanging high in traction. The moment he saw me, his eyes instantly reddened. Honey, I thought I'd never see you again. My heart melted in an instant. In the days that followed, he clung to me like a child, as if we were back in our passionate early days. All the unhappiness seemed to vanish. Every day I cooked him different meals, stayed by his side, wiped him down, read to him, and took care of him in every way possible. One day I stood in line for 2 hours to buy his favorite crab roe buns. On the way to the hospital, a former colleague sent me a message. Emily, guess what? Jason let go of the secretary who had been with him for years. He just hired a new girl. Along with the text, he sent a photo. It was Natalie. He also sent me a voice message, his tone cautious. Emily, I don't know if this is a coincidence, but I feel you should know. Then came another picture. It was a selfie his friend had taken at the company entrance on the day of Jason's accident. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. In the background was a car I knew all too well. Jason was opening the passenger door for Natalie, his hand carefully shielding her head so she wouldn't bump it. The timestamp showed it was less than half an hour before the accident. He'd been in the car with Natalie. Why hadn't he said anything? Why were they together so late at night? Where were they going? Hot blood rushed to my head, and I could hardly breathe. I told myself this didn't prove anything, that I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but my temples throbbed violently. Forcing myself to stay calm, I walked toward his room. Just before I entered, through the crack in the door, I saw Natalie inside helping Jason out of the bathroom. "It's all because of that truck," she whispered. "Otherwise, that night we would have already." Jason's hospital gown hung loosely on him, while Natalie's face was flushed, her expression shy, still carrying a trace of intimacy. I pushed the door open and stepped in. "So, was he good enough for you? Big enough to satisfy you?" Natalie jumped in shock and hurriedly tried to explain. "Emily, you've misunderstood. I only helped Mr. Jason because he couldn't manage the bathroom on his own. He was straining so hard his face turned red, so I just gave him a hand. That's all. I didn't see anything." "Really? Then why is your face so red? Helping him so much you couldn't even pull his pants back up?" Natalie's voice broke into a sob. "Emily, innocence speaks for itself. No matter what you think, there's really nothing between us." Covering her face, she ran out in tears. Jason's face darkened. "Emily, Natalie's just a young girl. Was this really necessary? We dated for 2 years, married for 5. I still wanted to give us another chance." I looked straight at him and said word by word, "Jason, if you fire her right now and never see her again, I can act like none of this ever happened." His voice was weary. "Haven't you made enough trouble? You don't have a job anymore. Without me, what can you even do? So you choose her?" "Emily, I didn't say I chose anyone. Can't you just tolerate Natalie a little?" "No, if she stays, I go." Jason was silent for a long time. Finally, he gave in halfway. "Fine, I'll let her go. Just stop making trouble. Let's have a baby, and everything will go back to the way it was, okay?" Even though it felt like a thorn had pierced my heart after so many years together, how could I simply let go? I still wanted to hold on. I decided to talk to Natalie. 2 days later, I followed the address on her resume and went there. As soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I noticed the apartment door was ajar. Through the gap, I saw Jason. Natalie was nestled in his arms, her lips slightly swollen, her eyes glimmering. I pushed the door open. Jason's face flickered with panic when he saw me, but he quickly forced himself to appear calm. "What are you doing here?" "You've been too tired lately, so I asked Natalie to help me change my bandages." I let out a cold laugh. "Does changing bandages require holding each other like that?" "Emily, don't talk nonsense," he snapped in embarrassment and anger. Natalie accidentally slipped. "I just helped her up. Stop thinking so dirty about people." Natalie put on a pitiful look. "Emily, it's my fault. I shouldn't have insisted on bringing Mr. Jason home to take care of him against his wishes." My eyes swept over the two of them. "Do I have to catch you in bed before you admit it? Or even if I did, would you still claim you were just keeping each other warm, that nothing happened?" Jason suddenly exploded. He pointed at me. "Since you want us to be together so badly, then fine, I'll grant your wish. We'll be together, okay?" Then he yanked Natalie's head back and kissed her hard. Natalie froze for a second, then responded passionately. My heart clenched painfully, but maybe deep down I had already expected it. Calmly, I pulled out my phone and pressed record. After that, Jason didn't come home for a month. Every day on social media, he posted photos and videos of Natalie, meals she cooked with little hearts drawn on the plates, her washing his feet, blow-drying his hair, like he wanted the whole world to know he was in love again. From the start, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. Then came numbness. Eventually, I couldn't even muster a ripple of emotion. One day, when I returned home, Jason was sitting on the sofa. He tossed a document onto the coffee table and said bluntly, "Emily, let's get a divorce. I've had enough of your suspicion and control. I don't want a marriage full of mutual torment anymore. Let's set each other free." I looked at him and felt it was laughable. "Divorce? Isn't it because you cheated? If it weren't for your suspicion, if you weren't so aggressive, would I have been pushed into someone else's arms? Do you still refuse to reflect on yourself?" He argued self-righteously, and suddenly I felt exhausted. I didn't even have the strength to argue anymore. "Fine. I agree." Jason froze. He clearly hadn't expected me to agree so easily. "So you've wanted a divorce all along, haven't you? You agreed the moment I mentioned it? Is our love all these years really that fragile?" I looked at his angry face, as if I were the one who had betrayed our marriage. He left the divorce papers behind and slammed the door. Just as I picked up the agreement, my phone rang. It was a call from a former colleague. "Emily, something's not right. Jason is pushing hard to sign a major contract for automated machinery, but the terms are full of loopholes. It's obviously a trap, yet he insists on signing. The most important thing is, before you left, you signed a full authorization document. If this contract goes through, the losses will come out of your shares. My heart tightened. Back then, Jason and I had built the company from scratch. When we didn't have enough startup capital, it was my mother who sold the old family house to raise the money. Jason had been moved to tears with gratitude at the time. Back then, Jason had voluntarily transferred 51% of the company's shares into my name. Now it seemed he regretted it. He wanted to use a garbage contract, behind my back, to drain all the assets tied to my shares. By the time I discovered it, we would already be divorced, and it would be too late to undo anything. I suddenly felt like I didn't know this man anymore. Was this still the same Jason who once played guitar and sang love songs beneath my dorm window? The man who stood in the pouring rain for hours just to hand me an umbrella? The one who held me tight after my father died and whispered, "From now on, I'll be your family?" My own family had been anything but happy. My father became addicted to gambling after marriage, lost everything we had, and when the money was gone, he'd beat my mother mercilessly. For my sake, she endured it again and again, until one rainy night when he came at us with his fists once more. In despair, she struck back and killed him. For excessive defense, she went to prison for 3 years. That experience left me quiet, withdrawn, and terrified of marriage. But Jason's passionate, persistent pursuit was like a beam of light piercing my dark world. He made me decide to give life and love another chance. And this was how it turned out. I had someone investigate and found out that Natalie had indeed left Jason's company. But instead, Jason had opened a lavishly decorated cafe for her, with top-of-the-line equipment. I arranged to meet him, saying it was to discuss the divorce. Jason thought I was there to reconcile. "What's wrong, Emily? Changed your mind?" After so many years together, I don't want to just throw it all away either. If you could give me more space from now on, stop being so suspicious and focus on the family, then maybe I could. I cut him off. "You make it sound so nice, but do you even realize what you've been doing behind my back?" He frowned. "What do you mean?" At that moment his phone rang. It was Natalie. He glanced at me, ready to hang up, but I smiled and gestured for him to answer. On the other end, Natalie's voice trembled with tears. "Jason, something's wrong. A group of people just stormed into the shop. They're saying they're liquidating marital assets, waving transfer records around, and hauling things out. They even started smashing stuff." Jason's face went pale. "Don't panic. Explain it clearly." I couldn't help but laugh. Natalie must have heard me because she shrieked through the phone. "Emily, it's you, isn't it? You did this, didn't you?" I spoke coldly. "The money for your renovations and cafe? Every penny of it was our marital property. As Jason's legal wife, I have every right to handle it. I even had people hang a banner at your shop, Mistress's grand opening. Wife comes to congratulate." It drew half the neighborhood over to watch. Natalie broke down crying. "Why are you doing this to me? What did I ever do to deserve this?" I sneered, as if she didn't know. Jason's voice turned hard. "Aren't we already getting divorced? What's the point of doing all this?" I ignored him and asked, "I read the divorce agreement. You're willing to give me an extra share of the assets, but only if you get our marital home." "Why?" His eyes flickered. "It's what Natalie wanted. It's not a big deal, so I agreed." "Is that so?" I laughed coldly. "Fine, Jason. We'll go to the civil office tomorrow." The next day, I waited at the entrance of the civil office for more than an hour before Jason finally strolled up with Natalie at his side, dolled up and clinging to his arm. With a smug smile, she said, "Emily, so what if you smashed my cafe? Once I marry Jason, he'll open 10 for me. 100 if I want. And you humiliated me with that banner? You owe me an apology." Jason looked at me. "She's right. You should apologize. At your age, still bickering with a young girl? Have some dignity." I wanted to just grit my teeth and get the paperwork done quickly. But I couldn't hold back anymore. I spun around and slapped Jason hard across the face. "You're a cheating bastard, and she's a shameless mistress. And you dare talk about dignity? Should I tell the whole world about your affair? That would be very dignified, wouldn't it?" I turned to Jason and his mistress. Your little girlfriend's mouth is too foul. I'm in a bad mood right now, so no divorce today. Jason held his face. Emily, why are you hitting people again? You cheated on me. As your wife, why can't I hit you? Not only today, any day you make me unhappy, I'll hit you again. After all, I'm not the one desperate to get divorced. Natalie shrieked and tried to rush at me, but Jason held her back. Emily, you've vented your anger. Can we finish the paperwork now? I turned and walked away. I already said, I'm not in the mood today. I never expected that the very next day, the scene at the class reunion would happen. After leaving the reunion that night, I went drinking with my best friend. She slammed the table in fury and cursed Jason for 2 straight hours. Then she looked at me with worry. Emily, are you still taking those sleeping pills? You really shouldn't take too many. I shook my head and hugged her. At least I still have you with me. The next morning, I got a call from a neighbor back in my hometown, saying my mother's condition wasn't good. After Jason and I married and became financially stable, I had brought my mother to live with us. But after a while, she grew forgetful and scatterbrained. Worried about being a burden, she insisted on moving back home. Since the neighbors there had known us for decades and could look after her, I agreed. Every year I took a month off to travel with her. She had always been healthy. How could something suddenly be wrong? Panicked, I rushed back home. The hospital report hit me like a boulder, crushing the breath out of me. My mother had Alzheimer's. A kind neighbor told me she had been showing symptoms for a while, on and off, but she made them promise not to tell me. She didn't want me to worry. I knelt by her hospital bed, staring at her clouded eyes that no longer recognized me, and sobbed until my chest split open. These past months I had been consumed by Jason and all his entanglements, yet I had neglected the most important person in my life. I transferred my mother to the best hospital. Jason, being an orphan, had always been treated like a son by her after our marriage. Whenever she bought something for me, she always bought one for him too. When she heard the news, she came too, and seeing my mother like that, her eyes filled with tears. That day my mother had a rare moment of clarity. She held Jason's hand. Jason, our Emily is stubborn. Please be patient with her. I wiped my tears and made a deal with Jason. I'll agree to the divorce, but on one condition. Whenever my mom wants to see you, you have to come. He nodded. During that period, we had a temporary truce. Jason kept Natalie at bay, and she no longer came to provoke me. My mother's moments of lucidity grew fewer. She must have sensed something, because once she held my hand, her eyes unusually clear. Emily, remember what I say. Never believe someone will change for you, and never waste yourself on someone unworthy. Learn to cut your losses in time. But when her mind grew foggy again, she would still mutter Jason's name, and Jason would always come whenever she called. Despite all my careful care, my mother's body kept weakening, irreversibly. On the day before the divorce cooling-off period was due to end, her condition suddenly plummeted. Machines in the room screeched with urgent beeps as the doctors issued a critical notice. My mother clutched my hand. Emily, my biggest regret in this life is you. From now on, live for yourself. Be happy. Then she began whispering Jason's name, insisting she had to leave a few last words for her son-in-law. I quickly called Jason, but he never picked up. I reached out to his subordinates, and they told me Mr. Jason wasn't at the company. They knew my mother was in critical condition and promised to inform him the moment they saw him. But until the warmth in my mother's hand slowly faded in my palm, he never came. Until the heart monitor turned into a flat line, my mother never got to see Jason. When she passed, her eyes remained open, filled with deep unwillingness. I held her body as it grew cold, crying until my whole chest felt torn apart. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a multimedia message from an unknown number. When I opened it, I saw a selfie of Natalie, smiling brightly. Behind her was Jason's face, looking helpless yet indulgent. Below the photo was a line of text. Don't think you can use that dead old woman as an excuse to steal my man. Keep dreaming, he's mine. If I tell him not to pick up your call, he won't. In that moment, all my grief turned into boundless hatred. I calmly took care of my mother's funeral, making sure the cremation and burial were done properly. My heart froze over completely with her ashes. Then I found the Western restaurant from the background of one of Natalie's posts. When I walked in, they were dining by candlelight, elegantly cutting their steaks. I grabbed the wine bottle from the table and poured it over Natalie's head. As she shrieked in horror, I yanked her hair, ready to slap her. Jason jumped up and grabbed my wrist. "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" I looked up at him. "You promised me you'd come whenever my mom needed you. Why didn't you answer the phone?" Jason pulled me back. "Emily, it's over between us. Stop using your mom as an excuse to call me. I saw her just the other day. She was fine. Why should I have to go again? I have my own life. My future is with Natalie, not you. Stop clinging to me or I won't see your mom anymore." I let out a bitter laugh. "My mom is already gone. There's no need for you to see her again." Jason's face went pale. "What? That's impossible. How could it be so soon? You're lying, aren't you?" I slapped him across the face. "You think I'd lie about something like this?" Then I pounded on his chest with both fists. "I just wanted you to come see her one last time. She died calling your name. She treated you like her own son. Do you think you've honored that?" Jason stared at me, stunned, as if he'd lost his soul. The scene at the restaurant was caught on countless phones and quickly went viral online. Soon, Jason's identity was exposed. The well-known CEO who cheated on his wife refused to see his dying mother-in-law for the sake of his mistress. Public outrage exploded. The company's stock price plummeted. I didn't hesitate. I teamed up with several veteran executives to buy up scattered shares at low prices. On the day of the divorce, I calmly signed my name. Natalie stood smugly at his side. "Emily, don't think you're so great just because you still have that 51% of the shares. We'll see." Jason looked at me, a trace of guilt in his eyes. "If you ever need anything, come find me. If I can help, I will." "No," I replied evenly. "I won't ever need your help, but you will need mine very soon." The next day, the company held an emergency board meeting. Jason was the last to arrive, surprise written all over his face. "A board meeting today? Why wasn't I notified?" I rose from the head seat and smiled at him. "I sent the notice." Then I slammed down a thick file full of evidence. Proof of his secret attempts to siphon company assets, records of the embezzled funds he used to buy Natalie cars, houses, and that cafe. "Jason, you're fired." As soon as I spoke, several uniformed police officers entered the room. "Mr. Jason, you're under suspicion of embezzlement and commercial fraud. Please come with us." Jason's face turned ashen as they took him away. As for Natalie, I had already filed a lawsuit demanding she return everything Jason had illegally gifted her during our marriage. From the detention center, Jason repeatedly asked to see me. Across the glass, he looked at me. His eyes were full of sorrow. "Why, Emily? Why do you have to be so ruthless? I only made the same mistake all men in the world make. For the sake of all the years we've been together, how could you be so heartless?" "Heartless, Jason? Who's the one who's really heartless here? You never loved Natalie, did you? You used her to test my limits, to push me into giving up control. When you saw I wouldn't yield, you pushed harder and harder, plotted a divorce, and tried to force me out of the company. You've long been resentful that I hold 51% of the shares, haven't you?" When I exposed his true thoughts, his expression twisted with rage. "Yes. And so what? I'm a man. I have more energy, more drive. The company should be mine to run entirely. If you truly loved me, you'd stay at home like a proper wife, raise children, dress up beautifully, instead of fighting with me for power every day. We've been married 5 years without children, and that's all your fault." Looking at his hysterical face, I felt an odd calm settle over me. "Then why don't you quit your job, stay home, cook 3 meals a day, raise the children, and spend my money enjoying life?" He was struck dumb, unable to answer. I stood up and gave him one last look. "Jason, greedy men never end well. Stay in there and think about that. Natalie hasn't even visited you once, has she? I heard she already took your money and went chasing after her next sugar daddy." Jason went wild, shouting, "Emily, give me one more chance. It's you I really love. I'll change, I promise. Please." I turned and walked away, never looking back. After I walked out of that visitation room, it felt like a door in my life finally closed. The weight of betrayal, grief, and bitterness no longer pressed down on me. It was behind me. I had lost my mother, my marriage, and the man I once thought I'd grow old with, but strangely, I felt lighter than I had in years. In the months that followed, I poured myself into rebuilding. With the shares I held, and the support of the company's senior partners, I took full control. The business stabilized under my leadership, and soon, we began to rise again. I realized how capable I was when I wasn't wasting my strength on someone who never deserved it. As for Jason, news of his arrest and trial spread everywhere. The same public that once admired him now treated him with disdain. Natalie disappeared quickly, moving on to her next target, leaving him alone to face the wreckage of everything he had destroyed with his own hands. He had gambled away love, loyalty, and family, and lost it all. One evening, I visited my mother's grave with a bouquet of white lilies. Standing there, I spoke softly. "Mom, I've learned. I won't waste my life on people who don't deserve me. I'll live for myself, like you told me to." For the first time, my tears weren't bitter, they were cleansing. I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. I will never again let someone else's betrayal define my worth. I walked away from the grave, from the past, from Jason, and from all the pain. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Epilogue. Jason, I sat alone in the dim cell, the weight of silence pressing on me harder than the steel bars. For the first time in years, there was no one left to blame, no excuses to cling to. Emily's face haunted me, her cold eyes as she turned away, the finality in her voice when she told me greedy men never end well. She was right. I had everything once, her trust, her love, even her mother's acceptance. They gave me a family when I had none, and I threw it away. I told myself Natalie was just a distraction, a way to test Emily, to push her into submission. But the truth was uglier. I wanted control more than I wanted love. I wanted admiration more than loyalty. And in the end, I lost both. When Emily's mother died, calling my name, I wasn't there. That thought crushes me every night. She treated me like a son, and I repaid her with absence. I see her clouded eyes in my dreams was waiting for me, and I never come. That's the one sin I can never wash off my hands. Emily is stronger than I ever gave her credit for. She didn't just survive me, she rose above me. The company flourishes under her, and she stands taller than ever, while I rot in here stripped of everything I thought made me powerful. The truth is, she was my strength all along, and I was too blind to see it. Now, all I have left are regrets. If I could go back, I'd choose her over power, over pride, over every selfish desire. But the past is a locked door, and I threw away the key myself. I whisper her name into the darkness, though I know she'll never hear me. Emily. I'm sorry. And for the first time, the sound of my own voice breaks me.